Hello and welcome to True Crime ESL, true crime stories for English learners. I'm your host, Nova Singh. In the video description, there's a link to a free document with vocabulary descriptions and a transcript for this episode that you can download. Can you find the 2 special phrases from the document in today's story? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this podcast and want to hear more. Today, our story is about O.J. Simpson. Orenthal James Simpson was born in California in 1947. He had a talent for American football and became a professional player in 1969. He was known by his initials O.J., which led to his nickname being The Juice, as O.J. is also short for orange juice. Simpson was a professional athlete until 1979. He was successful and a popular player. During this time, he also acted, starring in TV shows, films, and adverts. As well as acting, he was a commentator for American football games, making him someone who was very well known, with a good reputation. O.J. Simpson was a black man, and in the 1970s, it was unusual for a black athlete to become so popular with the general public. He married Marguerite Whitley in 1969, and they had 3 children, but this marriage didn't last. In 1985, O.J. Simpson got married again, this time to Nicole Brown. They had 2 children together, but their relationship wasn't peaceful. The police were called because of O.J. Simpson's violent behavior towards his wife. He physically attacked her and threatened to kill her. This happened several times, but O.J. Simpson was given probation, did some community service, and paid a very small fine. He was never put in prison, and Nicole Brown divorced him in 1992. Just after midnight, on the 13th of June 1994, neighbours found Brown's dog running around outside. It had blood on its legs. When they took the dog back to its house, they found the bodies of Nicole Brown and her friend Ron Goldman outside on the ground. Both of them had been stabbed multiple times. Brown had also had her throat cut. Ron Goldman had gone to Brown's house to return a pair of glasses which were found at the scene. Police thought he arrived during the attack, so the attacker killed him too. Brown's children were asleep in the house, but they weren't hurt. The murderer left behind a blue hat, a leather glove, and some bloody footprints. There were also other drops of blood, showing that the killer had cut his left hand. When the police went to O.J. Simpson's house to tell him about the killings, he wasn't there. There was some blood on his driveway and on his car door. The police searched the property in case Simpson had been hurt, and they found a glove that matched the one left at the crime scene. Simpson was questioned, and investigators saw that he had a cut on his left hand. A few days later, he was charged with murder, but didn't go to the police station to turn himself in. Instead, he got in a white Ford Bronco driven by his friend Al Cowlings and threatened to shoot himself in the head. When the media found out, news helicopters followed the Bronco as it drove north on the I-5 freeway or motorway towards Los Angeles. The car drove slowly and police kept a safe distance behind it. Almost 100 million people watched the chase on television, and thousands more stood by the freeway holding signs supporting Simpson. The car stopped at Simpson's house, and he was allowed to call his mother before being arrested. Inside the car, police found money, a gun, clean clothes, a passport, and a fake beard and moustache. Simpson had also left letters behind which were thought to be suicide notes, but he didn't say he was the killer. He pleaded not guilty to the double murder, and his trial began in January 1995. Because O.J. Simpson was a very famous person who was suspected of murder, the trial made headlines across America and the world. He used some of the best lawyers in the country to help him, and they were known as the Dream Team. There was a lot of evidence against O.J. Simpson, including the glove, hair found in the hat, and the fact that the footprints at the scene were a size 12 shoe, the same size that Simpson wore. In the trial, Simpson tried on the glove that was at the murder scene. It was too small for his hand, so the lawyer told the jury, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." There may be some reasons why the glove didn't fit. Simpson was already wearing a pair of latex gloves, so it was harder to get another glove on his hand. The glove was made of leather, which can shrink when wet. The glove at the murder scene had been covered in blood and then left out in the freezing cold for several hours. This means it could have shrunk from its original size. O.J. Simpson also tried to make it look like his hand didn't fit when he tried the glove on. This was just one piece of evidence, but it has become the most famous part of the trial. People saw the O.J. Simpson case as more than just a man accused of murder. O.J. Simpson was a celebrity, so millions of people watched the trial on television. It was called the trial of the century. It was also an example of racial division. The majority of white Americans thought Simpson was guilty, while most black Americans supported him. Simpson's lawyers said that the police had planted evidence at the murder scene and at Simpson's house. They also said that the DNA and forensic evidence wasn't reliable because it hadn't been collected or stored properly. The trial lasted for nearly 9 months, but the jury only took a few hours to reach their verdict. In October 1995, the jury said that O.J. Simpson wasn't guilty of killing Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. This was unexpected, but black Americans thought that this was an important victory as the legal system in America usually discriminated against them. O.J. Simpson was sued by the families of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman in a civil trial, which is different from a criminal trial. He was found responsible for the deaths and made to pay money to the families, but he didn't have to go to prison. In 2006, he wrote a book about the murders called If I Did It, which many people thought was a confession. The book was cancelled, but given to the family of Ron Goldman to publish because Simpson hadn't paid them very much of the money from the civil trial. Now that his reputation was ruined, O.J. Simpson had a difficult time getting work. He was arrested in 2007 for armed robbery and spent 9 years in prison. He was released in 2017, but died of cancer a few years later in April 2024 at the age of 76. The O.J. Simpson case was huge at the time and is still a controversial case today. There have been books, TV shows, and documentaries made about the trial. Simpson was found not guilty, but the police didn't look for another murderer. American law says a person can't be tried for the same crime twice, so there has been no more investigation into the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. So that's all for today. Thanks for listening to True Crime ESL. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this podcast, and maybe tell a friend about it. You can follow us on Instagram at True Crime ESL, and you can also support us by donating at buymeacoffee.com/True Crime ESL if you want us to keep making these podcasts. Many thanks to our supporter, Georgia. Today's story was written by Katy Watson, and all other production was by me, Nova Singh. You can download our free document for vocabulary, a transcript of today's story, and our story sources. You can find the link to the document in the video description. Take care and stay safe out there, true crime fans.